This is Lightning Power Lunch, presented by Reef Rum on the Lightning Audio Network with Dave Mishkin and Greg Linnelli.
That's how we should play, and last month and a half, 2 months, I think we've been doing that, and you see the result. So sometimes, I have to step up, make a few saves, but for the most part, guys, played well. And what's our average goals for during that streak? Like 3-4 goals. So it's really hard to lose with that kind of goal support.
MVP. MVP. No. If you want to put him in that, you can.
Yeah. He's going to get a lot of consideration for the Vezina if he finishes up in the last 30 games.
Should. This is a year where a lot of Tampa Bay Lightning players and coaches, I think because of the expectations people had before the season started and the injuries that they've dealt with, you're going to get that bump. So you have to produce, which every year Kucherov, Vasi, Cooper, I'm bringing those three to the forefront because usually that's what happens. Those guys, the Lightning usually have a really good team. Kucherov and Vasi are usually the ones leading the way in their category. But I think you're going to call it a feel-good push, call it a mea culpa push, but I think you're going to get some people. We've already heard it with the John Cooper. There's been a national push to have him enter into that conversation for best coach. I think also Vasi and Kuch will maybe garner more votes this year than had the expectations not been what they were at the beginning of the year and the injuries. I think that's fair. Where we go from here, I don't know. If you had the most improved player, would Darren Raddysh be knocking on that door? I jokingly, half-jokingly mentioned the guy should get – he's not going to win it, of course. He's probably not even going to be in the top 5. But should he get a Norris Trophy vote here or there? Yeah, why not? Based off of the injuries surrounding his team and the year that he is having. He may hit 20 goals this year.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's it.
Well, if he keeps bombing away in the power play.
Partner, that's a... I guess I'd have to go back and see how many defensemen over the last decade have hit 20 goals. But I feel like
there have been a lot. Cale Makar scored 30 last year.
But he's the elite of the elite. But what I'm saying is 20 goals as a defenseman, I always thought was like 50 goals for a forward. It's a hard number to get. Now, I know things are different a little bit this year and maybe the last handful of years. Offenses have been going up. Scoring is going up. And so I understand that. So Makar, the Foxes, even Victor Hedman to a lesser extent, and I'm just naming 3. I'm sure you can, the Hugheses. You can go on and on about guys who are either have hit 20 or going to hit 20 on a consistent basis. But I do feel like the 20-goal mark for a defenseman still, for me, is a pretty special number.
Yeah.
And, if he gets that, he'll be put in that conversation.
Well, he's at what?
A little bit.
14 right now.
He's at 14. So,
it's certainly doable if the Lightning
it is doable.
Continue to, produce at a moderate level on the power play. The defenseman on the power play that has the big shot, sometimes the puck goes in, sometimes it leads to a goal scored by somebody else, a tip, a rebound. So you're kind of narrowing it to goals.
Correct.
We've seen, he can blast it in. He leads the Lightning in power play goals.
Yes.
That would be an interesting question for the Lightning. I'm going to put Steve to work here probably. He's like, are you kidding me? We're pre-taping today, by the way. He's like, it's early. I don't want to have to do this kind of digging. Have the Lightning ever had a team where the leader in power play goals was a defenseman? Off the top of my head, I would say if it happened with Roman Hamrlik in 95, 96, and I wasn't with the team at that point. I know Phil said, the power play carried that team to the playoffs. That was the first playoff team for the Lightning, and Hamrlik was a big part of it. But, usually, how many years was it Stamkos, right? Stamkos was leading the team in power play goals. Darren Raddysh could lead the Lightning in power play goals this year. Still
could.
a lot of runway.
He could.
Mean, it's not
Yeah,
like he's got
he
like a
could.
7-goal lead on the next closest guy. He was a couple goals up on Bjorkstrand and I think Gensel, right? So,
One thing we didn't touch on, and it is Power Lunch on Lightning Radio. We are taping the show, which still means we can take your questions, have them come
Yes.
in whenever you have them. We will get to them at Bolts Radio. There was a trade yesterday involving a former Lightning player that we can get into, Andre Palat. We had some teams who the Lightning are competing against in the East who lost last night. We can touch on that, partner, as we get set for the game tomorrow. I want to mention one thing before we get into all of those questions and
Sure.
topics. Brian had mentioned, and I thought it was a good point, that one of the reasons, or the biggest reason, he felt like the Lightning's power play looked pretty good last game was the fact that they were able to enter the zone unimpeded. And that, I know that's stating the obvious, but he felt like, look, when the Lightning have struggled on the power play, some of that is face-offs, but also, too, just getting the puck in.
yeah.
And I don't know if that was a lack of scouting a couple of nights ago, where I've got to think, if you're the opposing team, you're looking at Tampa Bay and thinking, look, they're having problems getting the puck in. Let's make sure we pressure them. Or was it just the way the game unfolded, as Steve is giving us some stats for the
Yes,
20 goal
first to
scores?
your question, the 20 goal scorers.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's something the Lightning did a better job, or was it just a situation where they didn't have problems bringing the puck in because of the way it was defended?
So I didn't hear Brian's comments, so I may be taking them out of context. The Lightning didn't have any issues bringing the puck in. I think throughout the game they had, 4 power play chances, right? The last one, in some ways, was the key one because they had to make sure that they weren't like caught where Utah could pull the goalie, get it to 5-on-5 with the net empty. They may not get the puck back. Like if the other team has the puck, even if it's 5-on-5 with the goalie pulled, they're looking to score, right? So the Lightning didn't really open that door for Utah. So I thought it was important. I think the puck went down the ice once or twice, and the Lightning were able to bring it back in, and like they were in the driver's seat. They had the puck. Utah couldn't get it. So it was important that that part of the power play went smoothly when the puck went down the ice. So in this particular instance, it was important. I don't really remember the other 3 power plays, honestly, that, the puck went down the ice a lot. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Brian, I think in that game was at ice level, so he has a different feel to it. But just speaking generally, to the extent that the Lightning's power play has struggled this year, and it has, I mean, it's below where I think most of us thought it would be at this point. But it's been better since the second week of December. I don't think re-entering the zone has been at the top of the problem list. Now, at points have they had trouble re-entering the zone? Yeah, but every team at points will not re-enter the zone. Like, you're not going to have a 100% conversion rate re-entering the zone.
Yep.
I've told this story many times, I know, on the show, because I think it's really valuable coming from one of the longest tenured coaches in the NHL who knows a thing or two about penalty killing. That's Rick Bowness, who told me once when he was with the Lightning as an associate coach, he's like, the 3 things you can do on penalty killing that will really make your life a lot easier: win faceoffs, get pucks down the ice when you get a chance, and prevent the other team from re-entering the zone. Now, there's more than that. Sometimes you lose the faceoff. Sometimes you don't get it down the ice. Sometimes the other team does re-enter the zone. Sometimes, you have to kill a penalty where you don't have the puck at all. But that's almost like the snowball rolling down the hill, right? Like, just think, Greg, you win the faceoff to start the kill, you get it down the ice.
Right.
Then you don't let the other team re-enter the zone. They're killing the penalty almost for you. Or there's no time that's dangerous on your penalty kill where they are pressuring. So every team on the penalty kill wants to make it hard on the power play unit to re-enter the zone. I think we've seen little snippets at points where the Lightning have struggled in that regard. But I never have felt that it was like a huge top of the list problem. When they have struggled on the power play, yeah, sometimes it's faceoffs, missing the net, overpassing, being too cute, forcing plays. I think that's where, and again, I'm kind of stating this with a slant. A player's forced if you try a high-risk play that is broken up. It's not forced if you try a high-risk play that is completed, right? And then maybe it leads to a grade A chance. So the Lightning are looking to make plays with their first unit, and sometimes those plays don't materialize, and in hindsight, you can be like, well, why didn't they just simplify it, right? I think if we were to, like, diagnose when the Lightning's power play has had problems, diagnosing those problems, yeah, sometimes it's re-entering the zone, but I don't know that that's a main concern. I mean, you have Kucherov, you have Point. They generally are pretty good at re-entering the zone. Hagel is now filling that spot vacated by Point. Sometimes the defenseman will bring it in, whether it's Raddysh now or Victor Hedman previously, although they're usually the guy that's dropping the puck. So I understand what Brian is saying, and I think it was important in the last game that, especially on that last power play, Utah didn't get a sniff, down 1-0. But if you were to ask me, like, what do the Lightning need to do better on the power play when the power play struggled? It is probably find soft spots that are open that the penalty kill is giving you, as opposed to doing what you want to do, that the penalty kill is geared to stop. That is probably where the Lightning have run into more problems. And also, at times, let's be honest, an unwillingness to shoot the puck. But that's in zone. So you want to throw in face-offs, although, you know, I saw the stat and we've talked about it. Cirelli is at like over 70% on power play face-offs. Now, he doesn't take a lot of them because he's not usually out there with the first unit. It's Point when Point's healthy. It's Gensel. You know, sometimes they've even sent Finley out to take the face-off on a strong side. But I actually think the Lightning have done better than 5-on-5 and better on penalty killing in face-offs on the power play. Anyway, those are my 2 cents.
I think it's valid. I think also another interesting question when it comes to the power play, because it is a little bit different than when the regulars come back, specifically McDonough and Hedman. They are going to be back in the lineup. There's no issues there. I do think there is an interesting debate on whether or not Raddysh right now is best served to be on power play unit number 1.
Yeah.
When everybody does come back. And the reason I say that, twofold. One, he's playing well. His confidence is going. You want to keep that mojo going. And maybe this is the real Darren Raddysh. Ride that for as long as you can. It's not the first time Victor Hedman would have been bumped from power play unit number 1.
Great point.
So we've had to deal with that. But I'm also wondering, Raddysh's shot and his ability for the one-timer, is that a nice option more so for Cooch this year, the way the power play has operated? That big one-timer where you don't have to move around because Hetty's a lefty, Raddysh is a righty. It's a little bit easier. Don't know. Don't want to overthink it either. I understand Victor Hedman's a Hall of Famer, and typically I side with the guy that has more talent. That guy, you know, let's not reinvent the wheel, Greg. You know, Hedman comes back, he's going right where he belongs. And
I don't think that's happening, though, Greg. I mean, I agree.
I don't think so. I actually don't think so either, but I'm wondering, that's not been talked about a ton. It's mainly been who are going to be the top 6 defensemen.
Well, not at the beginning. I mean, whenever the beginning is, whether the beginning is one of these next few games before the Olympic break, I think ideally Victor would like to get into at least a game before the Olympics start.
Right.
If it's not then, you know, coming out of the Olympic break. And if Victor plays in the Olympics, assuming he does, like, he's going to get some reps. So it'll be a little different, you know, coming out of the break for him, coming off this long injury absence, right? So in some ways, you know, he'll be more in game flow. But for a couple of reasons, I think that Raddysh, let's just say after the Olympic break, if Victor is healthy, I think you think too, the power play will look exactly the same as far as Raddysh being on the first unit. And I think that for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's working, right?
Yeah,
so that's part of it. Second of all, you are integrating Hedman back into the lineup, and we saw when he came back for those 2 games plus a period, you know, he wasn't playing, forget about the power play, he was playing third pair D minutes, lefty D with Crozier. Now, that was a little different in that he was working his way back into the lineup. If he gets these Olympic reps, it'll be a little bit different. But we had a little bit of a sample size earlier this year, and that was when the power play hadn't really gotten going yet. The game in which Hedman pulled himself out, December 9th in Montreal, that was the game where the power play started to get going. So the two earlier games where the Lightning were in that scoring drought, and that included the power play, they kept Raddysh on the top unit. So those are two reasons. And then, to me, you brought this up. We can go back to the 2022-2023 season. Victor Hedman spent very little time that year on the first power play. It was Mikhail Sergachev. You can go back and look at Sergachev's numbers that year. I mean, it was his best offensive year during his time with the Lightning. Why? Well, he was getting all that power play bonus time. Not just power play time with Kucherov, with Stamkos, with Point. So it wasn't like the Lightning said, well, Victor, we're going to make this switch, but you're going to be back on the top unit in a week. Like, it was basically, I'd have to go back and look, but it was most of the season. It was the next year, Sergachev started slowly, and they made the switch back. And then Sergachev had a horrible, injury plague second half of the year where, he got hurt, came back, broke his leg. Anyway, we have a history that tells us the Lightning are not just like lockstep. Hedman healthy, Hedman must play on first power play unit, right? So they are willing to be flexible with setting the lineup. I mean, is Nikita Kucherov coming off the first power play unit? Of course not, right? No. Is Jake Gensel coming off the first power play unit?
Sure.
Of course not.
Right.
But you have another option here that is working well. And, the righty-lefty, so here's the difference. With Victor Hedman or Sergachev when he was out there, but let's say when Hedman is the defenseman, it is very difficult for a pass from Kucherov to Hedman to be a one-timer, near impossible. But Hedman to Kucherov is a one-timer. We've seen when Hedman is out there, Kucherov likes shooting the one-timer.
It's very true. That's very true.
He likes giving it, getting it back, shooting a one-timer. He can score on that one-timer. When you have Raddysh, or another righty, but in this case, Raddysh to Kucherov is harder to be a one-timer. Because Raddysh has to really sell it's hard for him to sell something else. He basically has to open his body to pass it back to Kucherov. And I mean, Kucherov could still shoot the one-timer, but the better option is Kucherov to Raddysh for the one-timer, which we've seen goals go in. So if you notice, Greg, and I was thinking about it as you were talking about this, how many one-timers have we seen from Kucherov in the power play over the last 2 months? Very few. Very few. I'm going back and thinking, if he's shooting, he actually has it on his stick and he's snapping it, right?
Correct.
Because that one-timer option back to him is not really available. Now, this is coming from somewhere else. Like Hagel, I think Hagel maybe gave him a cross-ice pass on one of those. That's different. That's one that he can one time. I understand Hagel's on the strong side of the left circle, but Hagel has other options. So, I mean, if Hagel is wiring that cross-ice pass, it was the 5-on-3 goal that they scored in St. Louis. That was a Kucherov one-timer, right? But, I mean, those have been way less prevalent. On the power play, what we've seen more of one-timers from the point because you have a righty back there. And it's working. I mean, Raddysh has, 8 power play goals?
It's actually really fascinating that you brought that up because now that we are 50-plus games into it, if you remember the conversation we had about in the beginning of the year, there were some questions about the power play, what was going to be the most effective, and the personnel. And a lot of conversations about Bjorkstrand on the left side, a lot of conversations about who would be in the bumper, getting shots through. And if you remember, one of the theories I threw out there was, look, if you don't have Stamkos bombing away and you don't have that threat, for me, the next best option was maybe Kucherov has to be the one who shoots more.
Yes, but you did say that.
But to your point, though, the last couple of months we haven't seen it. Why? Well, I never factored in potentially maybe that reason is that Darren Raddysh is basically Stamkos at the point.
Yeah.
Obviously, not the same proficiency. I'm not saying they're the same players, of course, but it's a threat. It just happens to be at a different spot on the ice. And so maybe that setup, where I still think Cooch, if he had to twist his arm, would he rather be the playmaker or the scorer? I think probably the playmaker, right? I mean, even though
he likes being the playmaker.
So I think it probably fits his demeanor and skill set a little bit more on the power play if he's got somebody he's dishing to. Now, he can go to Gensel down low. He can go to Point or Bjorkstrand in the bumper.
Mm-hmm.
But it's nice to have that big one-timer there because I do think that has a chance to and has been pretty effective. The key will be, particularly come playoff time, will whoever's at the point, and let's assume it's Raddysh, be able to consistently get his shot through? Because in the playoffs, partner, as you know, as well as anybody, shots are hard to come by, especially the longer you go in the playoffs because guys, they're blocking everything. I mean, you think teams are blocking shots now. We have seen in the playoffs that goes up tremendously.
Yeah.
But I do think, and your numbers bear them out, and I actually think, is Cooch tied with Bjorkstrand for power play goals at the forward position? I think both have 6.
It's Gensel.
Okay, so
Cooch?
Gensel.
Yeah, I guess
Let me double check. So power play goals, that's PPG, right?
Yeah, I don't think
want to make sure.
I don't think Cooch has
Hold
6
on.
power play goals. But
I
maybe
have
he
6
does.
here. Maybe I have 6 here, and Bjorkstrand and Gensel with 5. Unless
Okay, so
I
Cooch
can't
does have
read,
6.
which could
No,
be,
you're right.
which very well could be.
I was going off memory, which my memory clearly is a
your
little
memory
Swiss
sometimes is
cheesy.
better than is a lot better
I
than
knew
mine.
Raddysh had 8, and I knew Bjorkstrand had 6 of
Which
his
is
7
sneaky.
goals.
Which is sneaky. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what it says about Bjorkstrand other than I still think flip the coin. It's been an inconsistent year at best. We can get into that for another topic. But I think to put a bow on this conversation, we didn't know that Raddysh was going to be what looks like an answer for the power play.
Yeah.
And 1, I don't think he comes off the first power play unit. But 2, he ends up becoming, I think, in some ways what Stamkos was a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to keep him there because the threat of that one-timer, the way Kucherov likes to operate, is more valuable than somebody else who shoots differently right now. So let's see what
Yeah.
happens.
I mean, so the Lightning were in a unique position in that they had one of the best power play goal scorers in the history of the game, let's be honest, at that spot. I mean, Stamkos could score from that spot like very few other players have been able to score in the history of the league with an incredibly hard, accurate shot, and he was surrounded by people who could get him the puck, and again, goalie moving. The reason, one of the many reasons why Stamkos was so lethal at that spot was goalie is set for Kucherov on one side of the ice, and Kucherov wires it cross ice, so the goalie has to move. The goalie is moving, and Stamkos can find the opening, right?
Right.
He's shooting it hard, he's shooting it quickly, he's shooting it accurately, okay? Now you pull that away. There are other teams that have really good players at the Stamkos spot shooting one-timers. Ovechkin has been there. You know, back in the day, Brett Hull was there. I mean, look at some of the better power plays. The Rangers, however they've worked their power play when their power play has been good, whether it's Panarin at that spot or Zibanejad. Zibanejad has scored a lot of goals from that spot against the Lightning. I'm presuming he's scored goals from that spot as well. But not every team has a right-handed shooting player they can put at that spot to shoot the puck that way, okay? So now you take that away. Every power play team, though, has a defenseman, unless they're going with 5 forwards. They have their best offensive defenseman or their most creative defenseman, their best playmaking defenseman, however you want to define it. That defenseman is on the first power play unit for most teams. But that defenseman is not always cut from the same cloth. Some of those defensemen, like Adam Fox, let's say, great puck skills, great vision. They know how to pass the puck. They can shoot it, but I wouldn't say shooting is necessarily their greatest strength. but they just settle things down. They have the conductor's wand, maybe, or they're just setting the pace. They can also bring the puck up the ice. Fox is a great offensive defenseman. Look at his numbers. Bears that out. But some teams have the guys that can hammer the puck. Bouchard is one of those guys in Edmonton. So, I mean, you've got McDavid and Draisaitl out there. You got to worry about them. And then it's going to the point, and you got this guy bombing away. Like, what did you give that stat yesterday? The number of over 90 mile an hour shot attempts. So maybe just that Bouchard is not shooting as much, but Bouchard can shoot over 90.
He's second.
Yeah, right. So what the Lightning have found here, and Hedman can shoot the puck hard too. But as we talked about, the way the power play was set up, Hedman was not shooting as much because I think Hedman likes to shoot the one-timer, and it has to come from the other side of the ice. So unless Kucherov is on the left or somebody else is feeding Hedman the puck, he's not going to get as many opportunities to shoot a one-timer. Raddysh does. So now you've replaced a very specific weapon in one spot with a different sort of weapon in another spot. And I think that's what you were getting at when you said, Raddysh is kind of a Stamkos, except he's in a different position, right? Goalie doesn't have to move as much. We talked about that yesterday to defend a Raddysh shot, even if Raddysh is slanting over to the left. Stamkos was usually at the dot. Like, that's a long way for the goalie to have to move to get set, and Stamkos could pick corners. Very few players can do that.
Correct.
Raddysh doesn't have to pick corners. In fact, when they tried Raddysh there, it was too difficult, right? And they couldn't get him the puck. He couldn't get the shot off. If he shot it, he missed the net. Like, it's hard. You're reducing the amount of net available to you the farther away you are from the middle of the ice.
Yep.
Now Raddysh is more in the middle of the ice or just slanted off the middle of the ice, and they have this big shot. It is a weapon. We've seen it when the Lightning take on teams that have the big shot at the point. I mean, first of all, the shot can go in. Second of all, if you're blocking that shot, buckle up, Buttercup. I mean, it is not fun blocking a shot like that. They could be over 100 miles an hour. I mean, players do it, but
sure,
it is undesirable. You'd be rather dealing with, a shot that wasn't as fast, from a really skilled defenseman. Maybe you can't shoot the puck as hard. So that is really what has opened up here. I mean, it hasn't been like the Lightning are clicking at 30% of the power play. So let's just state that flat out. But the power play has been better. I want to say a month and a half now since the second week of December.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And what's great to see is that, Raddysh is able to get his shot off, get it through with speed, and often it's going straight in. Straight in, just beating the goalie. And, our friend Anthony is always like, they need more traffic in front. They need more. I mean, the Lightning are not, like, their power play setup is really not that different. The only guy who's really in front of the net when Raddysh is shooting is Point or Bjorkstrand, whoever is in the bumper. I mean, Gensel sometimes kind of veers to the front. Sometimes he is in the front. But how many of these Raddysh power play goals, like, if the goalie's being screened, he's being screened by his own penalty killers, basically. It's just the shot is too fast. I mean, Karel Vejmelka wasn't screened the other night. Raddysh just blasted it by him. So that's what we're seeing. And, maybe that's going to be something the Lightning focus on even more. It helped Raddysh. He had the 2 power play goals in San Jose when he had a hat trick. So, I mean, that you're at 8, 2 came in one game, and he's got 2 in the last 2 games. But I think your point was, like, here's a new weapon. And the weapon, it's not just the player, it's the fact that he shoots right-handed.
I think that's
based on how the Lightning operate their power play. Kucherov wants to be on the right side of the ice. If Kucherov is going to be on the right side of the ice, you are probably taking away the Kucherov one-timer on a give and go, like give it and get it back, but you're opening up a one-timer for Raddysh at or near the point.
Yep, I think that's all fair. I think you hit the nail on the head. Kucherov wants to be...
We spent a lot of time on the power play
that's okay.
today. But
Kucherov wants to be where he wants to be. Don't reinvent the wheel there. You have to find some other guys to figure it out. I think they found that with Raddysh.
Yeah.
Let's see how it plays out.
And Steve just told me the power play since December 21st, so after December 9th, is 31.9%, which leads the NHL.
That's impressive.
So there you go.
That's
I didn't
impressive.
have that I didn't have that number. By the way, just following on what we were saying earlier.
Sure.
So these are 20 goal defensemen. Number of defensemen in a season that have scored 20 or more goals. Last year, 3. 2 years ago, 4. 4 is the most going back to basically 15, 16. So Steve did a decade. There's 1 year where there was 0, 17, 18, which is interesting because that wasn't really like a low-scoring year. I mean, Lightning, won their conference, right? They were first in the conference that year, 17, 18. The 2 weird years, okay, none in 2021. That was a shortened season. 1 in 1920, which was a 70-game season. But in the last 4 years, you're looking at 2 or more. This year, I think we're going to have more than 2, for sure.
Sure.
I mean, we already have some guys like Werenski's at 19 goals, isn't he? So he's going to get there. Makar's going to get there. I think Chikrin's going to get there. He's got a lot of goals. Raddysh could get there. So really the question is, 4 has been the most. We may have more than 4. As far as the Lightning are concerned, I was not here for this season. This was not a great season for the Lightning. I think they lost 50 games. 99-2000. There were 3 players tied for the team lead in power play goals with 6, which is less than what Raddysh has already this year. Mike Sillinger, Vinny LeCavalier, and Pavel Kubino from the blue line. So Kubi was tied for first, and then the 1 year where a defenseman led outright was that 95-96 season. Sorry, 94-95. 7 power play goals. But it was Hammerlick, who was appropriately named because he could hammer the puck.
And I think you mentioned that off
line.
the top of your head, that maybe that was...
Yeah, I thought it was the next year because I know Phil had said our power play carried us to the playoffs.
I do remember him saying that, yep.
So 95-96, Hammerlick had 12 power play goals. Thank you, Steve. But that was second to Alex Silovanov. So I was kind of sort of in the ballpark. He didn't lead the team because the power play was so good, but he had 12 power play goals as opposed to 7 the year before. Is that the franchise record for power play goals scored by a defenseman in a season? 12? I'm putting Steve on the spot here. He's got all the stats open. I mean, Raddysh could get there, too.
For
if it's
your
12,
money,
I mean, he's at 8.
For your money, best power play specialist that was a defenseman for Tampa
Well,
Bay.
as far as a shot, Al McGinnis could drill it.
No, for the Lightning. For the Lightning.
Oh, for the Lightning.
Al McGinnis, you're right.
I was going to mention
was,
Ali Afraidy, too. Remember him?
He had great hair, too. Or lacked hair. He had the little mullet going. He was
Yes.
tremendous. Wasn't Phil Housley pretty good on the back end, too, on the power play? Wasn't he?
Yeah, he didn't have the same. I mean, I didn't see him play live. I don't think. I think he was out of the league by the time I arrived. I don't think he pounded the puck. No. And look, some guys are great power play defensemen like Paul Coffey. Paul Coffey could shoot, but I mean, Paul Coffey didn't have a shot of an Iafrate or a Al McGinnis.
Sure.
But one of the best power play defensemen in the history of the game. So, because he could skate so well.
For the Lightning, though, like if you were like, I want him out there, he's got a really good
tough
shot.
One. Well, I didn't see
decisions.
Hammerlick. I wasn't here when Hammerlick was here. Boyle didn't have a very hard shot. Talking about Dan Boyle, but he was a very, very skilled power play guy, and could set up teammates. I mean, but the guy who has all the records is Hedman.
Sure. A lot of opportunities.
He was only here 1 year, and he was here. I'm going back even prior to that. Curtis Foster, Stamkos' second year, right-handed shot.
Yeah,
huge shot, and that was the year Stamkos scored 24 power play goals. His first Rocket Richard. He tied Crosby for the Rocket Richard that year.
Foster
but
had 7
I think he scored 51, 52. I think he scored 51. 24 on the power play.
That's incredible.
So what happened there, first of all, that was his second year. So his rookie year, the first half of the year, not much happened for him offensively. He had 3 goals at about the halfway point. 2 came in 1 game, right? Second half of the year, he started finding the spot from that circle. He had a hat trick, I remember, against Chicago. This was his rookie year. He finished with 23, but 20 came in the second half of the year. The next year, Foster arrives. Why is that important? Foster had the big bomb, right? But he was a righty. So he could actually sell the shot and slip it to Stamkos.
Get him over. Yeah. Interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
And Stamkos, like the league had not yet reacted or absorbed exactly how dangerous this guy could be.
Right.
Like he would get it and he would just blast it straight in the net.
Sure.
You know? So, I mean, he had fewer penalty killers in front of him. You know, the goalies weren't ready.
Yeah, right.
You know, the goalies weren't expecting, they could watch on video, but I mean, having actually stopped the shot is a different matter entirely.
Sure.
But Foster was only here for 1 year, but it wasn't just that he shot the puck hard, it was the threat of Foster.
Sure.
That I think opened things up for Stamkos.
What happened to him? What happened to him afterwards? I'm curious. Foster.
Well, he moved on. The Lightning then had Sammy Sallow.
Gotcha.
I don't know if that was the next year. He was another righty. He overlapped with Hedman a little bit, but Victor was, you know, that year that Stammer scored 24, the Lightning missed the playoffs.
Right.
24 in the power play. That was Hedman's rookie year. Victor wasn't seeing power play time. I want to say that, so the next year was 2010, 2011. The Lightning did go to the Eastern Conference Final. Let's go back and look and see if Sallow was the defenseman on the power play.
Everybody
Sallow
go to
was
Hockey
definitely
Reference.
the main guy, but he was another righty, which helped facilitate the Stamkos one-timer. You also had Marty on those teams,
Yeah.
and Marty could set up Stamkos as well.
It's fun going back.
Go back and look. Yeah, it is.
Let's see. We're all going back.
Yeah.
We're all going to take a look and see.
Now
you
I
said
gotta go.
20.
I mean, some of this stuff I was like, I'm kind of
But you have
embarrassed that I don't.
you recall
Don't remember.
things.
Brett Clark was on that team in 10-11, and he was a lefty. Was Sallow on that team? Maybe not.
So I'm looking here. So you said 2010, 2011. I'm not seeing.
Yeah,
Foster.
it would have
Was he
been
the year
Brett Clark,
before?
I guess.
Let's see here.
The year before was Curtis Foster. 2009, 2010. Sallow arrived in 12-13. He was with the team for 2 years. So it was a little bit later.
Curtis Foster.
He had a horrific broken leg injury prior to joining the Lightning on one of those icing plays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we went to the no-touch icing. He wasn't the only one, but there were a couple of players who broke a leg, basically going back for an icing, if I'm remembering right. I knew he broke his leg. I think it was on an icing, though.
That was his best season by far, points-wise.
The year with the Lightning.
42 points through 71 games. Then he went on to Edmonton, had 22 points through 74. And then after that, it was played for 3 teams in 2011, 2012, ended with Philly.
He was into his 30s at that point.
Yes, just hit 30. So you're right about that. I think that injury might have happened. No,
the year
that
before.
was,
yeah,
I
2008, 2009, he
Yeah.
only played 10 games.
So there you go.
Yeah.
But you're right about, and you put up some decent numbers there offensively. That's fun.
Yeah.
Going back
Yeah.
down memory lane. But I think bottom line was the power play. And
There are a lot of different
these
ways. Yeah, there are a lot of different ways to construct a dangerous power play depending on the weapons you have. Right now,
correct.
the Lightning, let's just break it down, which I know you like to say, let's just make it as simple as we can.
Yes.
Right now, on the Lightning's top power play, forgetting everything else, forgetting Braden Point when he comes back, that he scored 50 goals, forgetting Jake Gensel, who is just, incredibly consistent, smart player. The Lightning have the best playmaker in the NHL, at forward certainly, the Nikita Kucherov, and they have a guy who is one of the hardest shots in the NHL, Darren Raddysh. Those two together, that will create problems for penalty killers. Those two players alone. Then you got 3 other guys where you may be able to create some other opportunities, and this is something we talked about a little bit yesterday. I noticed that Utah, on one of the power plays the Lightning got in the second period, it was actually the one before Raddysh scored, they were bull rushing him a little bit.
Right.
They reckon, like, the league now is like, we need to account for this. We can't just let Raddysh wind up and blast it. So if you're going to commit to that, now you're pulling your penalty kill. If you have what we'll call a passive kill that's concerned with taking away like passing lanes and shooting lanes and less worried about just pressuring the puck carrier, you're going to pull that penalty kill diamond. You're going to stretch it, right? You're going to create some openings. And if you have an aggressive kill like a Carolina or a Florida and you decide to come at Raddysh, if you can move the puck quickly, it serves the same purpose, right? They're going to be openings.
Yep.
So where is that opening? It could be in the Bjorkstrand spot. We've talked about that. Like, there's no room, no time, no space for Point or Bjorkstrand. I mean, I will give Bjorkstrand some credit here in that he has gotten some looks from the bumper, and he scored in St. Louis. He's getting more looks there than he did at the left circle for sure. But that could open up, or the Gensel goal line extended could open up, depending on how the penalty kill unit shifts. But we're at the point now where penalty kill units are like, Darren Raddysh has 8 power play goals. He's going to rip a 90-plus mile-an-hour slap shot. We cannot let him just blast it. So if he's winding up, somebody needs to go out there to disrupt it. You want to do that? Great. That means it's on the Lightning to find some other soft spot to exploit. And who is the best guy in the NHL at finding soft spots on a penalty kill? Nikita Kucherov. So if you're Raddysh, and we saw this against Utah, somebody comes at you, you don't shoot, you give it right back to Kucherov, and now he's like kid on Christmas morning, right? Like the penalty kill.
It's true.
The penalty kill unit's a little out of position. Nobody is coming at him like that guy came at Raddysh. So we'll see. We'll see how this unfolds here, like down the stretch run in the regular season. But to get to this point, you have to have Raddysh being productive.
For sure.
Like, we didn't see this back in November and December because Raddysh wasn't scoring those goals. Now he is. So teams are like, uh-oh, right?
The fact the cap goes up next year gives the Lightning a fighting chance to keep Darren Raddysh. Had this been happening when the salary cap was pretty stagnant, I don't know if it was even possible to keep him. I also think these are the problems you like to have as an organization, where somebody just comes out of nowhere and surprises the heck out of you. Mm-hmm. Where Julian and his staff, and this is for any player, really have to do their homework, and it's hard to do. Is this for real, or are we going to end up giving you a contract and then 2 years into it, it's buyer's remorse?
Right. Well, and that's why Julian has said,
that's what I mean.
Sample size. You never know.
And what is the sample size?
You can sign someone to a long extension, and all the indicators are there that they are going to be set up to help your team for years to come, and then they get hurt in the third game of the next year.
Well,
right?
that's a valid point.
I mean, you never know, right?
Let me ask you this. I think this is a fair and interesting question. So if you need more of a sample size with Darren Raddysh.
Well, I didn't say that. Julian said
No.
that.
But can you use that same logic with Charles-Edouard Destu?
But so what they did with Destu, and they were in a position to do this, they didn't give him a 6-year contract. They gave him a 1-year extension.
I meant in terms of his play now, thinking, is this the real deal moving forward? Because you and I think he's a top 6 defenseman. But like, there hasn't been a ton of NHL experience with him, correct? I mean, he's an older guy.
It's a completely different situation, Greg. I mean, he is older. He's not as old as Raddysh.
No.
If the Lightning, if it were possible somehow, some way, for the Lightning to say to Darren Raddysh, we want to extend you for 1 year, to extend this to see if this is a bigger sample size, and it's going to tell us what we need to know. I'm sure I don't know that they would love to do that, but that would be an option that they might explore.
Franchise you. We'll give you a 1 year.
Opposite.
Right.
Well, okay, yeah, I guess
1 year at $10 million.
But right. Yeah, I don't really understand what I thought franchise means you lock in the player, doesn't it?
No, franchise tag. I mean, they usually it may, but I know oftentimes the NFL they'll do those like
you're
bridge
putting a
contracts.
holder on that player for a year or something.
Basically.
Okay.
Yes.
So the difference between Raddysh and Destu to me. So Raddysh is due for a big contract, right? He has now established himself as an NHLer, and there are going to be other teams that are interested in his services if he chooses to go that route. And he deserves, if he wants to, he deserves to get what he wants to get. He's a UFA. If he chooses to explore the market, that is his right, and he will get paid, right? Destu is new to the NHL, and I don't know that there would be any team that would be offering. I mean, maybe, but from Destu's perspective, he's like, no team took a flyer on me at all until the Lightning. I started the minors. They had faith in me. They brought me up. They gave me these responsibilities. They gave me minutes. They allowed me to show them what I can do. I want to re-up with this organization. But they weren't going to offer Destu like a 6-year contract, right? So they offered a 1-year deal. But I don't think that would have been able to work with Raddysh. That's what I was saying. Like, if they could make it work, like, let's extend this a little bit and see how you're doing next year. We're not at that point. Raddysh is due.
You have to make
longer
a decision.
Contract.
Yes, you're almost forced to make more.
And I don't mean to disparage Destu. I'm not. I'm just saying, like, Destu's situation didn't warrant at this point a longer contract. I think he understood that. He's like, okay, I want security next year. Now, next year, Destu will be 28. If he has the same sort of year and just is the same player that we've seen, then he gets a longer contract. I think that's kind of where we're at with those two players.
I should have prefaced it. Take the contract situation.
Erase.
In terms of like, this is who the player is. Maybe that's how.
Right.
Is this the Raddysh we know? And for Destu, is this the guy? Forget the money. Is he a top 6 guy? Like, does Julian still need in the organization to look at him longer and say, I don't know if this is for real.
So I think the answer to both, and I'm not the GM, I think the answer to both is yes.
I tend to agree with you.
Let me take Destu.
Yeah.
Destu is 27. He's not 21.
It's very true.
So we often talk about, like, you need 300 games in the NHL for a defenseman or whatever the number is, 250. Yeah. Destu is at whatever, 30. So he's way below that. But he has all these years of experience playing pro and some high-level pro. So we have seen players who have played at the highest level in Europe, Finland, Sweden, come over in their mid-20s and integrate just fine to the NHL. And one reason why is, like, they're used to playing at a certain level. So to me, this is who Destu is. And what this year showed was Destu's game, which was so effective at these other levels and in these other leagues where he's named top defenseman in every league that he's been in, translates to the NHL game. Is it possible he's going to hit a rut, a slump? Things are just not going his way? Of course, every player goes through that. Is it possible he could have a down year at some point moving forward? Of course, every player goes through that. Is it possible he's going to be, playing with someone they just don't jive, right, in the way that he's jiving right now with Lilleberg or Chernak? I mean, but he's played with a lot of different players already and seemed to do well. All of that is possible. But this is the player.
Yeah.
This is who he is. I think this year has been a season of discovery, not like he's discovering the sort of player he is, but he is showing the sort of player that he is translates to the NHL game. The Raddysh situation is different because Raddysh has been in the NHL. We haven't seen this from Raddysh. So why is it? Why is this happening? And to me, it's about opportunity and confidence. And yes, you can lose your confidence and you can have opportunity taken away, but given opportunity and given that opportunity to play with these sorts of players, whether it's Kucherov on the power play or Moser 5-on-5,
yes,
this is the player that Darren Raddysh is.
And I'll add one more there.
But I mean, I'm not the GM. So, Julian is being circumspect, if that's the right word to use about it, and just, let's run out a few more ground balls.
I agree, and I don't think you can discount your backs against the wall. This is a contract year.
Mm-hmm.
That does factor, and that's okay. I know a lot of people, they will look, and this is in any sport. Boy, this guy had a monster year. His last, he's up for a big that's part of it too.
Know what? I'll just add to that, though, Greg, and that's fair. Like, there are a lot of players who have great contract years, meaning the last year of a contract.
Yeah, right.
This is not the first time Raddysh has been in this situation. I mean, he signed short-term deals with the Lightning before. So he was like, and it wasn't like he was going to get a big payday, but he was like, am I going to get another contract? We didn't see this sort of play from him until now. So this is not the first year that he's been in a contract year. And, the Lightning have re-upped him, but they've signed him for, basically the league minimum.
Yes.
During the time that he's been with the Lightning. So usually when you think about, all right, this player's in a contract year, this player knows going into the year that they are going to be setting themselves up potentially for a huge next contract. Whether
No
it's
more
with the
minimum
team they're
wage contracts. I may be getting my payday.
Right, but Raddysh didn't enter the season probably. I mean, maybe he did, but who could have imagined when Raddysh was scratched, half of the first 13 games,
Fair point.
that he would be in line for this big contract?
Fair point.
It's different than pick a player, Brian Rust, let's say. You talk about him a lot.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, the Penguins re-signed him, right? Brian Rust probably knew going into that year, he's like, okay, this is my contract year. This is what I'm making. I know my value. I'm a top 6 guy playing the power play, whether it's in Pittsburgh or somebody else.
Sure.
If I have a really good year here, here's my ceiling, or here's my floor, maybe here's my ceiling. The Raddysh situation to me is completely different. Not in that like he knew it was a contract year, but it's not like he went into this year thinking, yeah, I'm going to have 8 power play goals 50 games into the season. I mean, that'd be great if it happened, but
yeah, it's almost
you know
like
what I'm saying? Like to me,
I do.
It's
That
a
makes
little
sense.
different than a lot of other guys who are like contract year. They put up huge numbers. They got their payday, and then what's going to happen afterward, which is kind of the other part.
And
of
sometimes
the
those
question.
contracts are for guys coming in who had an off year. They sign like a 1-year, $2 million deal. They bet on themselves.
Yes,
And they say,
yes.
okay, you know what? I'm going to prove it. And there's a lot of those.
But that's not Raddysh's situation either.
No, that is not.
Yeah.
That is not. Dustin says, and this was from yesterday, I disagree about games played causing injuries to the players. In my opinion, look at how questionable the officiating has been in the past couple of years, especially this year. The players need to be protected, and the referees and the DOPS need to address these over-the-line hits, cheap shots, etc. Also, how many players, when the season is over, almost immediately go find ice and get ice time right away? A lot. Hockey players are a different breed.
So, Dusty, that is a fair point. I mean, it is fair, and we've heard some people who have said the injuries this year are not related to the schedule. In fact, John Cooper has said, like, the schedule is not really condensed yet. But I think we have lots of different sorts of injuries. So some injuries are due to bad hits. Dusty is right. We've seen players miss time because there have been questionable hits. Romanov with the Islanders. You want to say that was a questionable hit? But, I mean, he's out for the year because Rantanen pushed him from behind into the boards. That was not due to, like, wear and tear, right? That was due to a hit. But there are other injuries that are going to be surfacing, or maybe have already surfaced, that we don't know for sure, that may just be due to too much hockey. There may be pulls, tweaks. Guys may be playing through stuff more because the schedule is more intense, if we want to say that. Or whatever the argument is for condensed schedule leads to more problems. More problems physically for the players. That number is not 0. That's not 0%. I don't know what the percentage is, and Dusty's point is a good one. There are other injuries that are not related to it, but some of the injuries are. They have to be. I mean, why did Alexander Barkov blow his knee out on basically a non-contact drill on the first day of training camp, or a light contact drill? Bad luck? Yeah, maybe, but guy played how much hockey? You know? I mean, we'll never know, right? But it seems more likely that there was some stress on that ligament from use. Maybe not. Maybe he just got hit a certain way and it could have happened his rookie year. Who knows? But I don't think the number is 0, Dusty. His point about like players going right back to work, yeah, that's fair. But working in the off season,
it's different, right?
Is a little different than like competing, right? you're putting your body through the paces, but it's not the same physical punishment
Yeah, you're not getting
that
checked.
you take in a game or
you're
a
working
playoff
on
game.
skills
Yeah.
a lot of times.
And conditioning. I mean, I think, Vasi got injured doing weightlifting and he's like, never again, right? But I mean, some players do that. You could get hurt. You could tweak something in an off-season workout regimen. I think the players, though, they also know to rest their bodies. I read an interesting article that Victor Hedman did, like it was a Q&A. Apparently he went gluten-free last summer. The Lightning provided like clips every day. They provide the clips every day. So this article was in there. So I read it. It was a long Q&A. And I don't remember where it is. So I can't direct the fans to find it. Maybe somebody can let us know. But, Victor talked about like, I just feel so much better. He said he did a blood panel. And like, the wheat, I guess it was the wheat part of the gluten. This is not something I really know about. I have no issues with gluten. More pasta, please, for me.
Yes.
But, for Victor, he's like, this came in the red. So he's like, I needed to adjust my diet. He's like, I feel so much better. I have more energy, et cetera, et cetera. But he was talking about like how you work your body when you're in your 30s as opposed to when you're in your teens. Like he came into the NHL as an 18-year-old. And he said, I give myself a break during the off season to let my body kind of recuperate and rest. I mean, he had a surgery last year because he got hurt in the playoffs.
Sure.
But, Dusty, I think the players understand that they're not just like season over, back to rink. Like Kucherov talks about that, but Kucherov is doing what you talked about. He's working on skills.
Yeah.
Right? The actual grinding of like doing sprints and, lifting weights. Now, Hedman does that too. He talked about like what he does to help his body and like the sorts of workouts that help a hockey player, which is like short bursts,
right,
as opposed to like long burns,
right,
in terms of the workouts. But he definitely allows his body to rest, and I don't think he's alone in that regard.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think for anybody, but I think especially an athlete, your body needs time to rest. It does need time to heal.
Yeah,
because it is a long season. The only thing I would say there, Dusty, when it comes to the officiating, I don't know if the lack of calls of hits over the line have increased, decreased, are the reasons we're seeing more injuries. If you feel that is the case, I will just continue to harp on. I think the game is extremely fast. I think what I'm starting to realize, I think it's hard for some of these players to, at the last moment, make a decision to go hit a player that might be borderline or to pull up. But it doesn't stop the fact, partner, for me, that I still think out of all of the things when it comes to penalties that we can talk about, those dangerous hits, the ones where you're hitting somebody from behind, hits to the head, are still ones that it is I don't want to call it a problem, but I feel like it is not going away.
Mm-hmm.
And I especially get, I think the word is disappointed when I continuously see the hits from behind from players. Because everybody knows how vulnerable you are in that position. And we see guys, I think, more times than not, be willing to take those shots. And you see some serious injuries that do come from it. So I don't know what the answer is to those other than keep cracking down on those calls. And if you feel like it's not resonating with players, and I'm sure the league has stats on all of this stuff, maybe you start to be a little more harsh on the penalties associated off the ice with these hits, and almost have a zero tolerant policy. I mean, it's one of those things where if you're trying to clean up the game, the hits from behind, I think, are a big problem still.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that plays out.
By the way, thank you, Steve. The article that I referenced about Victor Hedman was a GQ article.
Ooh.
Victor, very, very stylish.
Very cool.
He is a very stylized.
I feel like the Swedes in general. I feel like that.
He dresses to impress. Victor
Wouldn't you say?
Victor likes putting on the threads.
Wouldn't you say the Swedes
Yeah.
They like to dress pretty
They
well.
have some, I mean, look, I see Henrik Lundqvist on TV. He's dressed to the nines, Nylander, William Nylander, like he's bold, but he definitely likes his wardrobe.
Yeah, a lot of people got upset.
He has a
about
bold wardrobe, I would say.
He does. He does.
Yeah, Steve just reminded me what Nylander did. Nylander likes the cameras when he's walking in for the game. He doesn't like the cameras as much when he's sitting in the press
a lot
box.
of people got offended. A lot of people got offended by what he did. I wasn't bothered by it, other than you should know better. Just don't do that. Like, I'm not offended. It doesn't mean like, well, this is why the Maple Leafs can't win. Nylander does that, and I'm like,
well,
come on.
I mean, look, there are bigger problems in Toronto than what William Nylander did in the press box.
Correct.
I mean, they just got hammered.
Yes.
By Buffalo in Toronto. I think they finished they had a long road trip, and remember they were doing okay. Remember, it was like Toronto is like 8-1-1 in their last 10.
Toronto's got problems.
Like, they had a back-to-back that they lost in Utah, but that was it. Like, they I think they won. Did they win in Colorado? They had a very impressive road trip. They come home. I think it was a 5-game homestand. They didn't win a game. 0-4-1. And I mean, the way the Atlantic is going, you cannot afford to have a stretch like that.
I mean,
and not put yourself in a we need to get going.
Toronto.
That'll be a very interesting game. No, I'm jumping ahead here. The first game out of the Olympic break, where will Toronto's head be at? Because they're going to get the break here. They're going to get the time to reset. Are they going to be like, we absolutely have to floor it? We've got 25 games left. We need to win 20 of them. Or is it going to be like, exhale? We're not going to be able. I usually the first game, you got some energy. So, and we know how well Toronto tends to play the Lightning. But that is very interesting.
So
you have
that's
Toronto and Florida on the wrong side of the playoff cut line right now. And we're not a week in, we're not a month in, we're not a third of the way in. We are pretty deep into the season right now.
What's interesting, and we'll end on this. I mean, Florida, we know this. In Toronto, their work's cut out for them. I mean, just because of everybody and how the math. It's going to be hard. Doesn't mean they can't. I don't know if both make it, but if you is it possible one of those teams make it percentage-wise? Probably, but it's going to be hard. I actually thought where you're going with that is Buffalo going to be a problem because the Lightning are going to be playing them 4 times. They haven't played them yet.
I'm very curious to see. They are playing. This is the Buffalo team that I thought we were going to see the last couple of years. Give credit to Lindy Ruff, although he was there last year and it didn't work out. So what happened this year? What turned for them? Unknown. We haven't seen them yet. I mean, they're the only team in the East the Lightning haven't seen yet. The Lightning still have to see Winnipeg in the West coming in tomorrow, Seattle and Minnesota. Yeah. Those are the 3 teams they haven't yet seen. But Buffalo is having one heck of a season. And I'm going to give – this one completely shocked me from the beginning of the year because I thought they were going to have a horrible year based on where things were trending. Boston Bruins. I know they're coming in for the Stadium Series, but I think I had the stat here from the morning skate. In 2026, the Lightning are 10-1-1. The Bruins are 10-2-1. They're on a long home winning streak. They won again last night in overtime at home. They have had a heck of a year. And as much as we talk about, Jack Adams, Marco Sturm deserves consideration.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Based on where people thought that team was going to be. And Morgan Geeky's having a terrific season. Pasternak's having a terrific season. All that is true, but, this is the one of those where it's where was the team expected to be and where are they? And they have blown expectations out of the water. So
it's a fair
credit
point
to the Bruins. That's going to be an interesting race.
Some good hockey coming up.
Good hockey coming up. You got some teams that are not slowing down in the Atlantic, and then you have some teams that are, if they aren't slowing down, they aren't accelerating at the same level. And are you going to start to lose ground a little bit?
And you will start to see those teams who are maybe surprising people where their GMs really feel about them at the trade deadline.
Good point.
Because if they feel like, hey, this is us, let's get after it. All right.
Yeah.
I'll have a good
went a little long today.
little scouting report on Winnipeg tomorrow. Brian Engblom spoke to some of the Utah players yesterday, and I'll share that with you guys tomorrow about Winnipeg, which is going to be fun. And Andre Palat was traded. We'll get into that maybe a little bit tomorrow as well. Partner, great job as always.
Darsh knows him well. Right?
Yes, that's true. He does. He does know him very well. But we'll break it all down tomorrow. Great job as always. Thanks to Steve Ersnick, all of you for listening. We appreciate you guys. I am Greg Linnelli. You've been listening to Power Lunch.